Okay, welcome to what I'm calling Monday Night Rant. And this is a live stream. We're going to follow up with one of the topics I recently talked about and see if something works that people suggested. And then just talk about the state of learning Logic Pro on YouTube, which is one of those topics that I'm interested in, obviously, because I have a channel where I teach Logic Pro on YouTube. And the thumbnail, in case you're wondering, is something that I'll explain a little later. But the key element, maybe if I were to just say one thing throughout this whole thing, it would be like stop watching YouTube and start using Logic Pro. That's the way you're going to learn it. But obviously, there's some caveats with that. So, first and foremost, I did a live stream last week where I was looking at flex time, flex pitch, and take folders. And I went back into my project and I realized I didn't look at this one with everybody, but this is one of the original snafus that I had with flex. And you can see it's like it's all one straight line essentially with a little bit of blurps up and down. I'm not going to play this because it sounds weird, but it's not all one pitch. This is a melody that goes up and down. I guess I can prove it if you somehow are doubting it's just not in tune because it was a scratch track. Let's go here. End of it all. So you can see it goes end of it all, but it's all flex pitch is showing a flat line across it. This was recorded with take folders enabled, and then I expanded it out, and this is what I came up with. And I was complaining about this, and I had a number of comments say, just go into the edit and say analyze audio for flex editing. Now, I thought, you know what, I could do this, but once I do this, it could just throw that whole region into havoc. So I thought I better do it on a live stream or a recording so that way we can see what it looks like together. I don't know what it's going to do. It may fix it. It might not. So I've got that file selected. I'm going to say analyze audio for flex editing. It's going to do a little edit thing here, or the analyze thing. And now I've got nothing at all. So I just scrolled up and down. Okay, cool. So here's the problem with learning Logic on YouTube. You're going to find a lot of good information, and then you're going to find a bunch of idiots that think they know what they're talking about who give you advice either in the comments or in video format. And some of it's going to be good and some of it's not. There's no gatekeeper for this information. So I could say whatever I want on a video, and I've said some things that, whatever I want kind of things. And it turns out that sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. And in this case, I was right. And the people who were telling me that I should do this a different way were wrong. I mean, look, I've got this file. It has no flex pitch showing up. And I go down here and I'm going to analyze it for a third time just to see if for some reason it works. And it doesn't. Or it probably won't, is what I'm saying. Oh, it showed up this time, but this time back to the straight line. So this is just a messed up file. Logic sometimes messes up your files. I'm never going to pretend like Logic is like a perfect program. In this case, I'm just really glad that that's not the file I need. It's a muted track at this point. Weird. That is like a weird bug. It's a weird bug. I don't understand it. And so I'm just not going to deal with that one. I re-recorded it. Here's where the rest of this discussion came into play. If you create on YouTube at all, there's a YouTube Studio app that you can go to and look at your analytics and see all kinds of useful information about your channel. So I know how many people watch my videos and how interested they are in the videos. There's a lot of data. It's like I'm interested in it, so I definitely look at it. But there's this relatively new tab on there called the Research tab, and it tries to analyze the data of what people watch on my channel. And it has this thing which is really interesting called content gaps. And so this app is trying to tell me a lot of times where I could make new videos that people would watch. It's a really interesting thing. So it's trying to predict what you as a viewer would be interested in. And so I'm going to pull one up here. It's telling me my top searches based on my audience. Number one would be Logic Pro X. That seems like a no-brainer, right? Mac Studio is another one. And then Cubasis 3. Now, that's fine. I've made one video total on Cubasis, and it thinks now I should change my whole channel to that. Which is, it's fine. I'm not going to, but it's interesting. Let's see. About half of these things called the content gaps. These are the things where YouTube is saying, ooh, people search for this, but there's no content available about it, but they're searching for it all the time. I would say about half of them for my channel are people looking for cracked versions of Logic. So people just out there typing in free version of Logic, cracked version of Logic, download for free version of Logic. And that's one of these things that's a gap in the content on there. So YouTube is telling me if I want to have a better YouTube channel, more successful YouTube channel, that I need to make videos about cracked versions of Logic, which I think is actually really hilarious in many ways because, that's not something I'm going to be making a video about. And I don't think people are really that, as a widespread sample of people across the world, I don't think that many people are looking for Logic Pro videos. There's a small group of people who are, but not a large group. And so you'll see people, Music Help Tech Guy is great. I'm a Music Mogul is great. There's a few others that are out there that do really good content about Logic Pro. And, it's interesting. You go watch them, and then if you read through the comments, you realize just how much misinformation. There's actually a new video series that I want to start, and the video series is called Stupid Things I Read on Facebook this week. And you go through like some of the Logic Pro user groups that are on Facebook, and it's just like, now granted, some people are on there and they're really looking for something specific. There's a lot of people on there who are like asking what I would call stupid questions. Bless their hearts. I know that they're trying to find it, but it's like we've forgotten how to like just crack open the manual and look it up. It just feels like there's a lot of people who bought this piece of software or downloaded it, cracked version, I guess. And they never bothered to ever learn how to actually use any of it. And so they're just asking people on the internet for information. We all know that the information, you could read through the comments on any one of those postings online. And this isn't just Facebook, Reddit. It's the same thing. Discord servers, there's like any group that does this, you're going to find that like you ask a question and you're likely to get opposing opinions or what people are presenting as factual information. You're going to get contradictory things from people, right? And even some of it may be actually true based on the perspective. So you could ask a question about flex pitch, and one person is going to give you an answer based on Logic 10.6.2. Another one's going to give you an opinion based on 10.7.2 or 3, and they're going to both be right on their version of the software, and you're never going to know like the difference of it. I'm reading the comments right now. Jay Stribling, I know it's hilarious. And then Bitterman, hey, how you doing? I'm about to go to bed, but I think this topic is huge. Knowing the reality of how many successful people have made it before that internet even existed makes me realize that that hard work is the key. It's not just, I mean, I agree with everything you just said. Totally true. Um, the success doesn't come from some of the avenues people are exploring. Now, I just taught an entire semester right before the holiday break, all about social media in the music industry and how people can use it as a tool to help build their career. And I'm a firm believer that you can use this stuff to help build your career. But you gotta like put in the hours of actual time and doing stuff. I was meeting with a student, and if you're watching this, student of mine who I met with today, this is not meant in a bad way, but they were like, I just need to like get my crap together and actually make some music that people want to listen to instead of just, spinning my tires with, doing cool things with the stuff I have, but actually making something worth enjoying. And I thought, that's so true. What a good reminder. It's like you have to like be making something that people want to listen to. Um, I have a lot of people I've known over the years who do this as a hobby, and they think, I'm just doing this for myself. And that's okay. You don't have to release stuff, but dear God, I hope you're making something that people actually would care about if they heard it, because that's like the bar. That's the only bar. And that goes for pop music. I hate it when academic people say something like, oh, that's popular music, that's trash. And I think, you know what? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the fact that 1 billion people just listened to that and paid for it gives it some sort of value, even if it's not like the value you share. Bitterman says, I really appreciate the time that you take to share information. An easier way than reading the manuals or for logic, or even presenting the information is better than they could ever be. Is so great. I appreciate you saying that. I've never made this channel to be a replacement for the manual. I literally started this channel. Well, there was 2 reasons I started it. One of them was I'm a professor at a university, and we have a big program at CU Denver. We've got like over 500 music industry students, and like 250 of those are recording arts students. And at some point, I mean, I was there at the birth of YouTube. I remember when it started. I was still teaching when it started. And I thought, I better know what I'm talking about. I want to be able to talk about the things I'm doing in a place where a voice that knows what they're talking about matters, I think. That was one thing. And then it's like, I really do want to share the things that I run into. I'm always creating music. I'm doing videos for various things, and a lot of it is to run part of the university programs I run. I create videos that support those programs, and so I'm always creating the content, video and audio and music for those things. I've done soundtracks for movies. I've done music for commercials on television. And so I'm always using it. And then when I run into an issue, I'm like, somebody else is probably going to want to know this. And so those are the videos I make. I don't go back and think, you know what, I'm going to do a video about all the basic features of live loops or something. I mean, who the heck cares? Somebody else has done it. Go watch their videos. But I like to, when things come up, when things that actually I bump into, if I bump into them and don't know how to fix it, I'm assuming there's at least 100,000 people who haven't also they don't know how to fix it either. Jay Stribling says, so many folks get into the technology without learning how to even arrange a song. Yes. It's like, here's the thing. If I could, and this isn't really practical because not everything I make on YouTube is gold either. I definitely have like things that I make that are stupid. I've done some humor videos that are just like roll your eyes dad jokes, but that's fine. But if I could set a bar to people who are allowed to watch my content. It would be those who understand like musical form, you know what I mean? Or theory a little bit. Or those who have endeavored to learn a musical instrument. If anyone has taken a musical instrument seriously, like more than just like I can play 7 chords on a guitar, or I've learned like the basic rhythm of like a Beatles tune or something like that. But if you've actually tried to master a musical instrument, you realize there's the more the more you don't know kind of thing. I was a really, this is going to sound almost comical probably, but I was a serious tuba player for a long time. I studied tuba in college. I went to like a music school for high school. I went to summer camps all the time to play the tuba. And I was really good. And you learned that even an instrument like the tuba has all of this nuance. Certain notes on an instrument like that are always out of tune. So you have to like pull tubes. You have to make the tubes a little longer when you play certain key configurations, and push it back in when you're doing other ones. And you have to listen and feel the vibration, and you have to like understand your embouchure with your mouth and all of that. You have to do all of this stuff. The more you know, the more you have to know. And I got really good at it. And then in college, I realized that there wasn't a lot of future in it that I was excited about. And that's when I switched to music technology, became a recording arts student, and learned how to record to 2-inch tape and all of this other stuff that I found really gratifying. And then using Logic, I learned it's like a musical instrument. The more you know about Logic, the more you realize you don't really know enough about it. And there's all of this nuance, and it like Logic funnels your musical ideas sometimes. You have to be really careful. It wants to push you in certain directions, and you have to push back. And so you can't just take it for granted what it's asking you to do. Same with like a notation software. If you're using Finale, it like helps you compose. And so you have to be careful not to let the software do the work. You have to have the idea up here louder than anything in front of you on the computer screen. Bitterman says, I would also love to listen to stories about your first experiences in making a soundtrack for a movie or producing the audio for a commercial, from tuba in college to locking these positions. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that there's a big audience for any of those stories, but I think everyone needs those kind of stories, you know? And then Jay Stribling says the band would sound pretty thin without the tuba. And I agree. And most good wind ensembles have like a section of tubas. I was in a marching band in college for 2 years, and we had 18 sousaphones in the marching band. The marching band was almost 300 people. I don't know if you understand 300 people on a football field, but you don't do a lot of moves when there's that many people in a marching band. So it was kind of fun to be able to just play. But those are the experiences that everyone needs. That's why even now, there's 2 things I tell prospective students. One of them is you don't need to go to college to make it in the music industry. Tons of people make it without going to college. But that doesn't mean going to college isn't going to give you a huge amount of experience and a network. I mean, I still talk to some of my college friends. Over the years, I've stayed in contact, and we've given each other work, and we are still our first original, the OG network of our lives, you know? It's like you can't break into some circles because you just didn't know them at the right time of their lives, but that doesn't matter. What you need to do is form your own circles with people. And then you become the network that people want to get into, and you realize that it's hard to let people into your network. You know, it's like this never-ending cycle of people trying to make it in the business, realizing that you don't need to make it in the business. You need to grow into the business. You need to become the business more than anything. And if you're really trying to break into someone else's circle, It takes one of a few things: money, lots of money, um, like unnaturally good looks, neither of which I have, um, and or like a group of friends that are loyal to each other and they're all doing amazing things. So that's the one. That's the one that I think I found, was just good people to be around. And that's what I love about what's happening on my YouTube channel right now is I've switched over to doing more streams than I was in the past. And I'm getting to know people on the channel. This is why I do live streams, is not because I feel like what I have to say is so important you need to hear it live. Although hearing things live, I think, is different for people. If you know that I'm sitting here in this room talking on camera to you, and you're sitting wherever you are, it's different than you watch a canned video that I recorded, edited perfectly, and then released. Because you know you can say something in the comments, and I'm just going to be right back out. Bitamin, have a good night. Get some sleep. But it's different. And then on top of that, I get to know the people who come and watch these streams. That's what I'm interested in. That's why I switched to live streaming, is because I don't like talking to myself. I think that that's one of the worst things, one of the worst experiences. I teach to students in classrooms and studios, even over Zoom. I know that there's somebody there trying to stay awake, at 9:30 a.m. It's a rough life for musicians at 9:30 a.m. But I once taught an 8 o'clock class, and it was the worst experience ever. Yuri Nader, yes, you can ask questions. We're definitely doing Q&A at the same time, having a conversation. And I don't want to ever dissuade anyone from asking questions, but back to that point about, the people who post dumb questions online. I always feel weird saying that because, you're supposed to believe that educators think there's no such thing as a stupid question, but I promise you there are lots of stupid questions. So use your question time wisely, but yeah, see, oh, Yuri. I'm not going to read that question because later on when people watch the stream, they can't see it. I don't think that those pop back up. And so depends. Are you talking about McDonald's chicken nuggets? Or are you talking about like Popeyes or some other place? I need some more information, Yuri, because I don't think you've given me enough of the equation to know what exactly we're looking at here. McDonald's. For some people, like one. McDonald's nuggets are the worst on the planet. I'm probably going to get demonetized and kicked off YouTube for expressing something like that towards McDonald's. So I love McDonald's. It's great. So, back to the original topic of this thing. It's like YouTube shouldn't be the crutch. Don't let YouTube be the place where you go to hide from actually making stuff. Like, go make stuff, make music. Because in the process of making music, you're going to discover what works and what doesn't, and what questions you really have. And then when you run into a serious issue, then go looking for it. And so that should be your main point right there. Don't just come on here and think, oh, if I watch, oh, this video looks interesting, this person's doing this person's doing that. You'll hear this from so many people. There aren't really rules in the music business, and in terms of record production, you can break all the rules as long as you come up with a result that people are interested in. So that's what you should be doing, is finding out how to get to that point. So we have a few of you watching. Any other questions besides Yuri's? Anything that you've been facing or any comments you want to make, put them in the chat. Jay Sirling says, absolutely agree. Learn as you go and don't put all your eggs in one basket. I work with multiple DAWs. And I tend to agree with that to a certain extent. As a professor, I use a lot of different workstations just because I don't want to come into a classroom and have a student who uses Ableton or Pro Tools or FL Studio or Studio One feel alienated. I want them to know that it's like I'm not coming at this one-sided. I'm coming at this from multiple angles, and it's like if we want to pull something up in one of those, then I think that's great. Now, on the other hand, if someone wants to use Reaper in my class, then I'm usually less forgiving about that. And that's why I put a laugh track on my YouTube channel, so I can make Reaper jokes. Reaper users are relentless, and they're very passionate, and I appreciate that. So, it's like, if you want to be a Reaper user and do that, then more power to you. Stick with it. Don't give up just because someone razzes you a little bit. Let's see. We've gone for almost 30 minutes, so it won't be a massive long stream. I think one of the things I wish I could do more mixing on live streams and have people interested in it, but I find that audiences come and go pretty quickly when you're doing live streaming of actually working on projects. And so I think I've avoided that one still, but I might do some more of it because there's a way to do it. There's a way to do this so that people can be interested in what you're doing, but you have to be so careful as a streamer when you do it. And mostly what I mean by that is, it's like we can pull open things on here, and it's like I can show you my mixer. And if I just do this, if I just put this behind me, most of you are going to be like, I can't even really see what's happening with this. It's like, but we can come in, and there are things. Logic is nice because you can make it bigger at least. And then you can actually see a little bit more of what I'm doing. Also, there's a lot of tips you can do with the streaming software where you blow things up above your head and make it so people can actually see what you're doing. That's a part of it, is engaging the audience so they can actually see what's happening and understand it. But it's like me going through this project, this one here, it's not that complicated, but there's quite a bit to it overall. Looks like I'm just using 3 or 4 different buses, so not complicated there. The most I have on one track are 5 different plugins, so I guess over here I've got one that's one of the drum machine designers, so that doesn't count. Those just come with it like that, and they're almost all turned off. But it's like I could go through all of that stuff and explain it, and it only means so much because it's like it's my song, it's my process. Have a stranger look in on it, it doesn't convey the same thing. It would be the same thing if we opened this up and had some of you send in your mixes, and I opened them up and started mixing them a little bit, although it could be useful. A lot of that then delves into a little bit more practical if you're doing a one-on-one thing with somebody. And so there's that angle as well. But, doing a Q&A while mixing is my dream for the year, is to make it so that a couple times a week you come in, you watch me mix, but you have a chance to ask questions and other things. So I think that's really what I'm going to work on the most. Let's see. Clayton Von Kluge says, hey man, I don't have Logic yet, but I do record frequently, use GarageBand. And as I'm going to upgrade to a new laptop and other various equipment, the question is obvious, to Logic or not. Well, if you like GarageBand, then you'll feel right at home with Logic. And I think that's a big benefit. So there's very few times nobody could win an argument with me about which DAW is the best. The best tool is the one that you know how to use the best. I mean, it's simple. If you're really fast and competent in Ableton, then that's the tool you should probably be using, you know? Now, there are some exceptions to that. There are some things I do in Logic which I would really struggle not to do in other workstations well, but to do it all. And so I really feel like Logic brings a few things to my particular workflow that I can't find someplace else. And then Icky Tat. Let's see. Here's a struggle I was having this weekend driving a monosynth via MIDI with the external instrument plugin. Audio is good, MIDI is good. I'm able to sequence from Logic, but bounce and place won't work. That is correct. Bounce and place does not work with external instruments. So what you have to do is essentially load up your instrument track that has the external instrument on it. The input that you have selected there, just create an audio track, select the same audio input, record, arm it, but don't input monitor it, and just record it into that new audio track, and it's about the same process. It's a little longer. And then Jay Stribling says maybe that is something you could try, deconstruct an elaborate session into various lessons. It's true. And then Ikatat says, or should I say bounce track? Couldn't get to bounce to audio, appeared like it was trying to do, but then no results. So hopefully you understood what I was just saying a second ago. That's how I do it when I use my external synths. And then Clayton Von Kluge says, just wanted some input from Logic. True Logic users, of course, you were to start. You get some limitations using GarageBand, so that's why I'm wondering. And then thanks. Okay, you're welcome. I think GarageBand is really powerful. Even like the iOS version of GarageBand is really powerful. But there are some things you can't do on it that you can do on the full version with Logic. And there's some things on iPad, iOS with GarageBand that just are clunky as heck. So, and then Wellsboy07 says, yo man. L says, hey puppy. We got a group forming. So most of the people who are just joining already missed the big rant. But you know, just so we can get the right keywords here to get this is more facetious, kind of jokey based on what we talked about earlier. It's like I just have to say Logic Pro crack a few more times so that way when YouTube feeds this algorithm out to people, they think that's what we're talking about. Because why not, right? I've taught, I think like 7 semesters in China, in Beijing, China. And I love China very much. It's like there are parts of me, aside from the last 3 years, where I would have seriously considered moving to China. It's just a really cool place. There are some very difficult things there too, but I walked into class, I had 40 students, and I said, okay, you know, for anyone who has Logic Pro, we're going to be doing this stuff in this semester. You know, don't go out and buy it or anything like that. And the next class, everybody had Logic Pro on their computers and none of them bought it. So it's like, it's out there, it happens, but I don't necessarily condone that kind of behavior. Oh man, we got some fun people in the chat. Let's see what else people are talking about. 7-month course. So Wellsboy07, where are you taking the course from? About song engineering or sound and engineering. Where, like, what specific program? Is it a good program? Are you getting your money's worth? Having a good time? I mean, I'm curious because, you know, it's an online one. Okay, cool. So I was watching some content the other day from a couple people who had tried to start these programs on online where you get one-on-one teaching online, and it's like $250 an hour to go meet with a professional. And they were talking about how poorly it was working. Like nobody was interested in that particular way of learning. Not because you probably wouldn't learn a lot, but that's a lot of money for like not a ton of value. Or maybe you could get a lesser amount of value, but it's like free on YouTube, right? And so, that's the question as always is how do we expect teachers to make it a living in this kind of new world thing where like an online course you can get like some types of content that you work on, like go to Skillshare or something, and you have like a $20 or $30 subscription. You get a whole course that fits inside that amount of money. I mean, that's like a good deal, right? Or you watch like some of the stuff that people are putting on YouTube that's totally free. You just have to watch some ads every once in a while, or pay for the YouTube Premium, which is like $14 a month or something, and you don't get any ads. But that's a serious question. In the old days, you'd get an internship somewhere. You wouldn't get paid, but you wouldn't have to pay them. And they would like take you under their wing and like teach you all this stuff. And then once you were able to bring clients in, you'd start getting paid for the work there. And that's that's like ingrained in us a little bit. It's like, why pay to learn so much? Now, I do feel strongly about the benefits of a bachelor's degree. There's enough jobs out there that if you wash out of the music industry, that a bachelor's degree will still help you earn more money per hour over the course of your life, that it's worth it. I feel that way, but I'm a professor at a university, so of course I'm biased maybe, but I also think there's some evidence that shows that. And so, yeah, I don't necessarily feel like I can ever show up to the classroom though and not give my students like 150%. I feel like it's really important. I feel like you have to like give them everything you got. Let's see. I'm going to go back through the comments. I've lost track. Clayton says, does anyone know how compatible Native Instruments Machine MK3 is with Logic? I think it's pretty compatible. I don't know if it's up to speed with all of the latest updates, so someone else will have to answer that. But I used to be a huge Native Instruments fan, and some of their updates kind of screwed me over, and I left. I haven't gone back, but they make some cool things. $500 if you delete the song you're making. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Donate $200 and I'll delete the song I'm working on. How's that? Let's switch it around. Wells Boy 07 says the classes were kind of boring, so I have to take 2 Xanax to get through it. Why is it boring? Do you think that's something that's on your side or the professor's side? Honestly, here's my thing, and I'll be straight with you about a lot of the online classes that are out there, or books for that matter. If you buy a book on audio production, it's like, how many times are they going to teach me like the basics of sound, how fast it moves through the air, or the frequency spectrum, or the loudness curves, or psychoacoustic principles? How many dang times do people need to teach that to you in a course? An online course or a book or whatever. It's like, stop repeating the same stuff over and over and over again just to fill up space. It's like, we need to stop doing all that generalized additional things in this content and actually like get to the heart of the matter. Sometimes I get complaints on my channel because when somebody, like I make a video about something and they're like, whoa, you didn't show me how to get to that feature. And I'm like, so what? It's not my dang job. You find that feature. Like, go do a search for it. Like, spend a little bit of moment of your life. But I'm not interested in like always showing the basics of every step. Sometimes I do, but my channel is not like an introductory course on Logic. I do advanced topics almost exclusively. And sometimes I go back and something turns out to be a basic topic, but it was meant as an advanced tutorial. Let's see. Wellsboy07 just got through a divorce, so I haven't been able to focus. That sucks. A lot of people, including myself, have been there. So, totally sucks. And Jay Stribling says, Filler, you nailed it. Yep. Wow, we're having a good discussion over here. A lot of stuff. Oh, man. So usually, and this is a true story, I usually am off the stream before we get too many people on here. So it's always fun to read the comments and see them. But the best part about the comments is when you get to just ignore them too at the same time. Sweet. Cool. Well, we are going to wind down here eventually. We've been going for 41 minutes and 26 seconds. And that's about where we're sitting. This song, by the way, that's behind me, I've used it for the last couple streams. And I think, apart from a few like little polishing things, I think it's actually done. I just need to master it now. Right now, all it has is the limiter on the master bus, which here's something about mastering. I should make a video about mastering. The best mix, this is my opinion, this is not the rules, but the best mix requires no mastering. Like, if I'm doing mastering, if I'm going through there and I'm like, dang, it's like, it's not quite bright enough, there's a little bit of mid-range mud, the low frequencies are out of control. If I'm doing like more than three things on my master, then I almost always take them all off and go back and just fix the mix a little bit more. If I'm having problems with low frequency stuff, that's usually kick drum, it's usually the bass, it could be the low strings on a guitar or a keyboard, and you can go back and like alter all those things to make them fit better. And so I'm like, you know what? I want to go back and fix a lot of that stuff. So I go back. If dynamic range is an issue, it's like it's not fitting in the pocket, and I find myself having to limit too much. And right now, this limiter on here is doing way too much, I think. But it's the sound actually may be one that I've gotten used to, so it may stay really heavily limited. I don't know. But I go back, and it's like, ooh, the vocals. I might want to like compress / limit some of those, multi-press a little bit if I need to, as a subgroup, all the vocals. So that way when they hit the master, they're already kind of in the right place compared to everything else. If I have like a bridge section, which I have on here, and I have like this keyboard part, you'll see that there's 2 synth tracks at the very top with a really creative name of Instrument 1 and Instrument 24. That means I created the first one first, and then I was on Instrument 24 by the time I created the second one. And I just pulled that part down and put a different set of effects on it. Well, really, so that one has spread, stereo spread, and this one has spread, channel EQ, and compression with the side chain. That little arrow next to the compression tool here means that it's a side chain input for the compressor. Super nice visual to be able to tell that. So I put those on there to get that synth in a better place for the bridge section. And I didn't have to worry about, my master or anything changing. So Jay Stribling says, please keep hitting the advanced topics. That's why I'm subscribed. Heck yeah. And then Clayton Von Kluge says, one of the guys on an FL channel showed how he employed a clipper plug-in, very effective for perceived loudness. and making your tracks large and wide. Yeah, I mean, that's all like a Clipper plugin. I don't know exactly what the thing was there, but that's what we do with limiting. It's like essentially a Clipper plugin in many ways. But there's always that fine line of how you do it. So let me show you in this song, with and without the limiter. I'll go back to the second chorus into the bridge. Let me know if it's too loud or anything. As I walk away, do I spin in the night? Is this your dream? Is this your dream? Is this your dream? What I see, do you see what I see? Here you are, right where you belong, right where I belong. At the end of it all. So that's with the limiter on. Let me play a little bit without it. Do I spin in the night? Is this your dream? Is this your dream? Is this your dream? What I see, do you see what I see? Here you are, right where you belong. So it's really just pushing up some of the softer middle parts of that, and we end up with a fuller mix. But I mean, when I turn it off, I'm just clipping because everything's pushing up a little bit too much against the master bus. But when I turn it on, I think it actually keeps a lot of the same sonic quality, but fills in some of the cracks a little bit. Jay Stribling, if you're still around, see you later. I think we're going to pull the plug on this live stream. I'm having a riot just reading the comments. I know you were just saying something about the comment section, but that's cool. You know, c'est la vie is really the thing. See you later, Stribling. Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna put some people in timeout. They're in timeout. That's a feature. I can freaking put you all in the little corner with the dunce cap on. Am I allowed? I don't even know what that means, but it sounds like something from my childhood. Sweet. Okay. Okay, Clayton's still here. Sweet. I saw a YouTube short video. Producer claimed once to test. One test is to listen with your headphones off your ears, around your neck. He mentioned how, if he couldn't hear a track like this, he might not need it. That sounds like an old wives' tale to me. But let me put it this way. We've all got our little things that work for us. Doesn't mean they're going to work for you. But I don't know. Let me just turn that down. Now, these headphones may not be the best example because they're open back headphones. So there's no solid side on this. So the sound goes out both sides. They're really great for mixing, really bad for any kind of sound isolation. I do threshold listening all the time when I'm in a studio with big speakers. That just means you turn down the volume all the way and you slowly turn it up. And what you hear, it forms a triangle. What goes through first and then what builds out. If it's a vocal song that you need to hear the vocals, if you don't hear those coming in first, as you turn up the knob, then people are going to have a hard time hearing them. And so that's a trick that I was taught, before. And what I'm most of the time doing, so if my limiter is there, I'm going to do this after my limiter. But I swear by these so much. Right now, Ocean Way is my favorite. I use the NX headphone tracker system from Waves. And let me turn it on. It's this little thing on top of my headphones right there. And this, if you look at this little head right there in the middle, if I move my head, that thing moves. And so it's tracking my head position. And as I move a little bit one way or the other, it gives me that sensation that I'm in a studio. And it really works. Plus, I can mute one of the speakers. Oh, I just pushed the key. You can change the ambient level. One of the other rooms, I like this one, but I'm also using Lord Algae's room. Which one is that? Yeah, CLA. And this one has the same thing, but it also has a pair of, so it's a CLA 10 plus sub, the mains, and then you have a boom box over here in the corner. And so you actually can listen on those representation of speakers, and it works really well. I love this thing. And so as soon as I started using the NX system, that's when I stopped trying to make my basement studio sound great with speakers. It's just, I don't have the money. I've got access to 6 recording studios, pro studios on campus that I can go in and mix when I want to. And so I've got those, which I use for various things. And then at home, when I'm composing, writing, and doing all the mixing and stuff, I'm using the NX system now, and it's glorious. It's super cool. And you can actually hear a little bit of this through you'll be able to hear it because it goes on the stream. As you spin in the light, that's what I want. But I'm afraid what I see. Do I spin in the night? I mean, then you have to turn it off before you bounce. This is just a monitoring thing. It's not like a mix thing. So cool. And like you said, great user interface at the same time. It's like I would sell this stuff because it is super cool. Did I lose? I don't know. You can actually look around the room. I mean, that is a cool interface. They had fun with this. And a technique that I've done that I really like is I've taken impulse responses of the studios that I use on campus because, a couple of them I really like how they sound. And I've taken the impulses. You go into the main NX interface. Let me get that pulled up. Just the one that isn't based off of a room. It is off of a room. I don't know which room. And then you turn the ambience all the way down. Is this your dream? And then I put an ambisonic impulse response of the room right before that in the chain, and it's like sitting in my studio on campus. So you get you can do that with this stuff. If you do it right, you can actually use the impulse from your room through the NX stuff, move your head around, and it's like you're there. It's really, really handy. So if I'm like, oh, I wonder how this sounds in Studio J, I just put the Studio J impulse on there, turn the NX without the ambience turned up, and then I'm in Studio J. It's really incredible. I actually once contacted Waves during the pandemic because we had all of our students working at home, and I was like, "Hey, Waves, would you be interested if we like created an NX of one of our studios on campus that we could have all of our students use at home during this time?" And they're like, "Yeah, we don't have time for this." They wrote back. It was not. I mean, it's. I guess I'm not completely surprised they wrote back, just because my email address and credentials carry a little bit with them because we have 300 students, 250 to 300 students every year go through our program. So, but they were like, no, that's too small fish to fry. We're going to be working with Chris Lord Algae instead. I was like, okay, fine. Okay, let's pull the plug. 55 minutes. I really miss those guys who were in here chatting. I mean, it was really sad that they left. I was just getting into the whole conversation about their lives, but I think I'm going to sub to this channel. No one criticized me for using GarageBand. You take out the trash here promptly, and a college professor who is willing to give time for free advice, you're all in. I'm all in too. Thanks, Clayton. Definitely hit that subscribe button. All of the things you just said are true. Nobody is going to, at least they might, but not me. I think GarageBand is a really good gateway drug for all the cool stuff. Sometimes we leave the trash a little longer than we needed to, but yeah. Let's wrap this up. Everybody else who's watching and is not subscribed, get your life together and subscribe. Because, geez, what the heck? This is like free video for you, but it takes time and energy. So make sure that, make sure you at least subscribe. And other than that, I will see you all later. Have a good night.